So I woke up one morning, doing my daily routine, putting honey on my penis and having a bunch of bees go to town on it, in hopes to enlarge it to help fix the problem I have since I was born. And of course having it with Honey Nut Cheerios because I already have one bee at the ready right there. All part of a balanced breakfast. But my mind started wandering and I started thinking of a specific Zelda scene. And I had a good question about the scene. Here's what I was thinking of. How the hell does Link survive this? You see right here is our hero Link right as he's starting the game trying to launch into a fortress at an extreme distance and pancake straight into a wall. But he gets up completely unscathed and moved on with his life. We're talking he used the cartoon trick where he looks down to see how big the drop is and that way he'll survive the fall, even if the fall is so much he crashes through the earth. So Link must know a few tricks and be able to survive this thing. Do want to give a quick background on how we actually got here. When you start the game you find out it's Link's birthday. Here's your sister Ariel and she gives you a telescope for your birthday. But then this oversized bird comes carrying this pirate lady who drops her into the forest. So you have to go save said pirate lady. Which also, speaking of that bird, something strange about this guy, no not his size, is the fact that when you kill it he completely explodes. I don't think birds usually do that. Okay, scratch that, birds can't explode. But that's later in the game. Right now the bird makes a mistake and takes your sister captive instead of the pirate. So the pirate, doing exactly the opposite of what pirates are supposed to do, is very generous to give you a ride to said fortress to get your sister back. Yeah, pirates are known for raping people and being terrible baseball teams, but these pirates are pretty chill. They'll let you play games in the basement and take all their treasures. When you reach said fortress, they determine that it's quite locked up. They need a good way around it. But they have a trick they've used before. And here is said trick. It's called murder.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
The scene is crazy too, because here we have Tetra, who turns out to be Princess Zelda. They do the whole little Zelda chic kind of thing in the Wind Waker 2. Spoiler alert for a 19-year-old game. If you didn't know that one, then you're just dumbass. But she's trying to comfort Link right here. It's basically like comforting your little elementary school kid on his first day of school that it's going to be completely fine, when in a matter of 2 hours he's going to get bullied pretty hard. The first mate Gonzo is waving goodbye to said elementary school kid, because he really doesn't want to deal with that low shit anymore during summer break. He's very happy it's fall again. Senzo's over here is the one who actually did the launch, and you can see he doesn't even want to see this murder, and as you can see he's actually trying to cover his eyes here so he doesn't see the murder he just committed, so he'll be able to deny it later in court. I honestly had no idea this guy's name was Senza either. I had to look this up. All I knew was Tetra, Gonzo, and the asshole on the bottom of the ship that basically gives you a bunch of free stuff. And of course you have our hero Link here, who managed to go through the 5 stages of grief in probably a 15-second span. But didn't have to though, because he survives this incident. And that brings us back to the main question. How in the hell does Link survive this? So unfortunately, I think the only way to answer this is we have to do some physics calculations. I will be making my physics teacher proud. Actually, I probably did the calculations wrong here, so I'm probably gonna actually really disappoint my physics teacher. But I was pretty good at that in high school, as we think we all were. And the thing I'm gonna look at is the force that is exerted on Link when he hits the wall. So we know that if he's gonna hit the wall with a certain amount of force, and the wall doesn't budge, that same force is going to be shot right back into Link. It's like the normal force or something. There's some physics thing on the screen right now that'll tell you how it works. And whatever that force is, it ain't lethal. And if it is lethal, then call Link the Houston Astros, because he's a fucking cheater. So how to get this force is we need mass times acceleration. Acceleration is the one that I spent forever on, and to get that, we need the change in velocity over the change in time. And as we see here in what I think is the 4th stage of grief, that's right as Link launches off, his time and velocity are 0 at this moment. So the acceleration is probably going to be whatever the final velocity is divided by the final time. Time's easy enough, you can actually kind of figure it out through the game. While the scene itself takes around 10 seconds, it repeats itself a bit. You can pretty much determine that Link is flying through the air in 4.7 seconds. From where he was sitting in a barrel ready to go see people up in heaven, to over at this point to where he looks like a mosquito that got absolutely destroyed by a fly swatter. But let's talk distance. This was a pain in the ass to figure out, in which we're gonna need said distance in order to get our velocity. Hell, it was already annoying enough to get at that distance, because in order to get back to Forsaken Fortress, I had to go through these barrels, and they blew up when I touched it, and it was absolutely miserable. But I pushed through and got to Forsaken Fortress for the video's sake, and not my sandy's sake, because this is a lot more math than I really want to do. So here's the general path I would kind of take. Here we start at this one rock, and you kind of see that's where I'm going to land right there. I did my best to count how many boats it would take to get over there, and I assumed it would have taken about 60 boats in the water just to get to where you start walking the land. and there would have been another 10 boats when you got to said lane to where that wall is. So if we're putting this in an XY plane, it's total of 70 boats in the X direction. As in the Y direction, it takes about 6 links to get from here up to this main platform, then it would take about 5 more doors right here to reach a spot where Link splatted and completely blew out his brains. And I guess that the door was about 7 links high, so that total Y direction height is 41 links. So we gotta convert these to meters, and we're gonna assume Link is 1.38 meters tall because that's what the estimated 10-year-old's height is. I'm aware that the height of Link is a very much debated thing, and I have no interest to get to that. This video is already getting pretty long in itself. If you want to waste probably an entire week looking at those videos, just look it up on YouTube. Jesus, there's way too many. We really gotta find something better to do as a society. And this is a little contradictory because I'm talking about it in the video right now. Oh well. I assume the boat was about 2 links length, so we'll say that one boat is equal to 2.76 meters. So as long as I didn't fuck up my calculations, Link travels 193 meters in the X direction and 56.6 meters in the Y direction. You think we're done? Nah, you can just shove that hope right up your ass, because technically Link doesn't go in a straight line to get there. He goes in an parabola shape. So here we have the orange line on what would have been the straight line. You would have done a little Pythagorean theorem or some of that stuff to find it. Now we gotta find what this kind of oval-like thing is in order to solve this problem. But if I make the assumption that Link hits that wall about 2/3 the way down on said oval, and we assume that one of the tips of the oval is where he started, while the long axis of the oval is going to be about 290 meters, and the short axis of the oval is going to be around 170 meters. Finding the radius of both them, and then I put it into this little handy calculator that I found online, you get that the circumference of the oval is around 747 meters. And then we assume that Link traveled all the way up to the top and then 2/3 the way back to the bottom, which would have been about 1/3 of the entire oval traveled. We can assume that he traveled 249 meters. Is everyone sick of all the math stuff at this point? Oh yeah, that actually makes sense. I probably would have clicked away a while ago. Usually when you hear my voice you do that, so that's how it goes. So now we know how much distance he traveled and the time it took him to travel, so we can find the final velocity. He traveled 249 meters in 4.7 seconds, so we got 53 meters over seconds. Go back to our acceleration calculation. Yeah, all this time we're just trying to get the fucking acceleration. We take that 53 divided by 4.7 once again, and you get 11.27 meters over second squared. And I believe there's a shit called centripetal acceleration, like kind of the acceleration that sends you towards the center of a circle or oval, I believe. So I'm not sure if I was supposed to use that in the situation, but I don't really remember that all that well. I just remember the term. And it's my fucking video. You go for my video, okay? You don't have a choice. You're watching. So we still gotta find the force out of all of this. And what is the mass of Link? Well, they say an average mass of a 10-year-old is 32 kilograms. Does this apply to our cartoonish Link? I don't fucking know, and I don't fucking care. I'm using 32 kilograms. So when you take our acceleration, multiply by our mass, you get the force, which is 360 newtons. That honestly sounds kind of small. That doesn't sound like a whole lot of force. Because when I looked it up, they say the minimum force to break someone's nose is going to be around 450 newtons. So like, Link hitting this wall isn't really much of a problem at all. He just kind of bounce off it as if nothing happened. And that's exactly what happens. He somehow bounces off it far enough where he lands in the water. But yeah, he left this thing unscathed. It kind of was a giant mystery to me when I was thinking about it. But when you do the math, it actually sounded kind of realistic. Yeah, I know my math sucks. That's probably the only problem with this thing. But that's what I got. We gotta move forward with it. So go back to the main question. How the hell did Link survive this? Well, that's because it wasn't lethal at all. We talked earlier that these pirates are pretty weak. They're not rapers. They're not terrible baseball teams that don't even know how to get a fucking out. They're just this cartoonish version of pirates that somehow ignored all the terrible stuff they did when they actually were existing. And that's also my main takeaway in this video. Tetra and her gang of pirates, they're just a bunch of frauds.